What is up, guys? Welcome to Role Playing James. Today we're gonna talk about why the hell do we suck so much at specific Soulsborne games when we actually perform exceedingly well at others? And this is such an interesting question. I can be, or I might actually be as bold as to venture to say that there have been many of us, so many of us, that have rage quitted a specific Soulsborne game because it didn't actually click with us, or there was something that we couldn't explain that felt odd or different, that just we couldn't bring ourselves to enjoy it or to actually understand it. And that's the subject of today. I'm gonna try to break down the game mechanics and break down some of the character archetypes or playstyles which we approach, or we used to approach, the games in order to play them, and that might actually shed some light on what's the reason for this phenomenon. Why the hell do we suck at specific games, Soulsborne games, while we're actually having quite some fun and a hell of a ride in other ones? You see, I first started playing the Soulsborne series back in 2011 with Dark Souls 1. After that, was Dark Souls 2, and then Bloodborne. After that, Demon Souls, Dark Souls 3, and last, Sekiro. Of course, there are quite a lot of Souls-like RPGs out there, but our main focus right here, right now, with this beautiful chatter that we're having between you guys and me, we're gonna focus specifically on the Soulsborne games. This might actually help with the other Souls-like, but let's stick right now for the Soulsborne likes. First, I would like to talk about the character or playstyles or character archetypes that we use to play these games. First, for me, I'm kind of a basic guy. I like my sword and shield. I feel comfortable with my sword and shield, so every time that I play a Dark Souls game or a Soulsborne series game, I always try to have a sword and shield while I have enough mobility, decent agility. While I wouldn't consider my characters to be nimble enough like other characters that you can actually build, my characters tend to be agile enough to be able to surpass attack animations and roll away with my invincibility frames to continue fighting. But I always have my shield. My shield is such an important aspect for my playstyle. My way of tackling onto the bosses, it's quite a methodical one. I use my shield to defend myself long enough to be able to understand the attack patterns of the enemy and find these windows of opportunity that allow me to capitalize on punishment on the enemy. And that's just the way I play. When I defend myself long enough to be able to understand the enemy patterns, then I capitalize on that and launch myself full on attack and proceed to use my agility kind of character building to be able to switch to a more aggressive kind of playstyle. But before that, I already kind of understood the attack patterns of the enemies. So when I don't have a shield, I kind of feel naked, I feel helpless, and I feel defenseless. And that's pretty much that's the regime for myself and my characters that I always follow throughout the entire Soulsborne series. Of course, I do switch a little bit here and there. I do like to play all the different builds, dual building, two handling, magic, miracles, all that crazy stuff that we are allowed to do in these beautiful entries and games in the series. So that's the first archetype, and by playing online and watching videos, I have come to realize that there's actually quite a lot of people that tackle onto the games in this form, in this way, in this playstyle. Shield seems to be a consistency defense for the community. That's what I always tend to find in my playthroughs with online people. I usually tend to play it solo for the first time, and then I do co-op and all that great stuff that we're allowed to do in the games. But yeah, I would be one of the archetypes of character building. Sword and shield, you take your pick. It can be a claymore, a heavy weapon, and a shield, or it could be a katana, or more light, agile weapon. But shield seems to be one of the most strongest assets in these kind of games. And then we have the second archetype of player. You see, I have a friend. I'm gonna talk about 3 different archetypes for playstyles, which is the first one, the very first one that I already described, which is my personal take on the games. And then the second one, I have a friend that ever since I introduced him to the Soulsborne series, he always seems to be more of a nimble warrior. He never uses a shield, and that actually amazes me. There's many people that does it this way. He rather prefer to use a dual wielding weapon or a katana, but with dual two-handing katana. And this kind of character building, he barely wears armor. He always capitalizes on being agile enough to be able to optimize his invincibility frames. And that way, he is more of an aggressive player than I am. He has better reflexes than I do. He solely relies on that. And he's always performed exceedingly well with this kind of character building. And of course, every single build that I try, that he tries to adapt it to this formula, to this specific archetype. Even though if he uses magic, miracles, sorceries, whatever you take your pick, he always tries to capitalize on this. And then we have a third archetype of character or person, which is, well, gonna use as an example another friend of mine. When this other guy and me introduced him to the Soul series, he preferred heavier weapons, heavier shields, heavier armor. And we were actually quite amazed because that was something that just we didn't felt like it was useful, but it was his personal take on the game. That was his personal preference, and that's how he tackled onto the games. And when we told him that he was gonna have quite some trouble at Ornstein and Smog with this kind of building, we were always telling him that he should be more nimble, that he should be able to roll away. He was always fat rolling. Always fat rolling. And that was pretty much a law for him. But then, when he arrived with Ornstein and Smog, the dude freaking defeated him at his third attempt. And we were watching and we were like, well, damn dude, that might actually function for you. That might actually be your thing. Yes, he did struggle a little bit more with some different bosses that me and my other friend didn't actually struggle that much. But there was that. We were all 3 different kind of archetypes of approaches to the game, and we were fine with it. And that's the thing with Dark Souls. The game adapts to you. You don't have to adapt to the game. And this leads me, I want to use a little bit of a metaphor, if you would like to call it that way. It's a little bit out of context, but there is importance in this one, so yeah, please bear with me here. You see, I'm a singer as a hobby. I have a band, and I did 2 classes for singing. I had several vocal coaches, and when you start singing, the first thing that a vocal coach teaches you or says to you is that you have to start breathing with your lungs. That you start to stop breathing with your lungs. That is quite problematic because that's something we have been doing, that's something we have been carrying with ourselves for our entire life. All of a sudden, someone comes and tells you that you shouldn't do that anymore, that you should be breathing from your diaphragm because that's your new strength focal place. That's where you'll be pulling your entire strength. And this is specifically bothersome because your brain has normalized that you are breathing with your lungs your entire lives, and for you to be able to switch from that to another in a matter of a short period of time, it's actually quite hard, quite difficult. And then in order to accomplish this, you start focusing in that, and while you focus on that, you are not taking care of your inner mouth muscles positions that are actually quite important as well. You're so focused, paying attention to this other thing, that you're not taking care of another things that are actually quite important as well. But how do you normalize something that has been with you throughout your entire life? And this is specifically through and a key point to understand why some Soulsborne games doesn't click with us right away, to the point that it might actually infuriate us enough to just get away from the game. That's the answer. You see, all the Soulsborne games have a formula, and it's a formula that we're all familiar with, and when we play it, we recognize it. We can say this is a Souls-like, this is a Soulsborne game. This is the formula proposal of this game. But there's a huge but. The thing is, if you're like me and you started with Dark Souls, you started with so much freedom. And the media tells you that, the media fills your brain with this thing that this is the formula, and it's pretty much different titles of games, but it's pretty much the same gameplay. Not pretty much, it has its differences, but the core of it is there, right? And that's where the problem is. If you started like me, pardon the redundancy, with Dark Souls, then you started with so much freedom to be able to tackle on the game in this way, in your way. The game adapted to you. You didn't have to adapt to the game. You build your character playstyle and you stick with it. And this might actually not be true, but for everyone, it's quite a bold statement to say. But I can be pretty sure as to say that most of us actually did tackle on the games in this way. We have a specific mindset. It's important. We have a specific mindset that we use to tackle onto the games. We take our personal preferences building for our characters and stick with it. Now, bringing back again these three archetypes of different players, some examples of them. When I played Bloodborne, me being a shield and sword and board kind of guy, it was hell for me. They stripped away my shield, one of my strongest weapons for my mindset, for my playstyle. They took it away from me and they made me feel naked. The formula in that game narrows enough for you to force you to play in some specific way, which is the one that would suit my other friend better than me. My friend who was always dodging and rolling away and using attack invisibility animations. It was just a walk in the park for him. For me it wasn't. It was really hard And I do understand, I see a lot of people in groups and communities saying that Bloodborne is actually quite easy. Then why is it so hard for many of us? That's why. Because you have a specific mindset. You have a specific way to tackle onto your games. When Bloodborne comes and takes away my shield, it makes me feel helpless. I have to adapt to the game mechanics and new proposal formula. I have to be more aggressive. No longer can I analyze bosses. I can try to roll away as much as possible, but I'm not there trying to understand the patterns, defending myself with my shield to after that be able to capitalize on that. Because I have nothing from my previous playstyles to be able to use in this game. Whereas my friend that always plays without a shield, he was just having the time of his life in there. He was just having the time of his life in this game. And now, if we switch back to Sekiro, many people actually think that the game is hell hard. But for me, I can assure you, I shit you not, it was like a walk in the park. Sekiro was way too easy for me. I enjoyed it so much because even though the game presentation might actually make you feel like you're this nimble, agile ninja, warrior, samurai, it's not. The game proposal formula for this game is that you have to capitalize on blocking and parrying. And that's my special niche. That's what I am. When I came to Sekiro, I felt right at home because I'm marvelous at parrying. I was always capitalizing on my parry and blocking mechanic. And then my friend who always dodges comes into the scene and rages way too much because you might actually feel familiar with this, but he said that it is impossible, that how the hell would an attack animation would follow you through hell and backwards even if you timed it well. And Sekiro does that. It doesn't matter if you time well your dodge, the attack animation of the enemy will follow you. It will track you and it will hit you. And my friend was always saying, why the hell do I have the side-scrolling animation if I can use it? And I told him, dude, you have to change your mindset. And this is when it clicked for me. You have to change your mindset. You have a specific playstyle, because this is the game's proposal. If you don't enjoy it, it might actually sound harsh, but just move on, or better, adapt and overcome. And this is specifically hard. Remember what I told you about the singing metaphor? My friend was, for such a long time, being in his comfort zone with his specific playstyle, that when you tell him that he must change that, it's hard to do it. When I told him, stop dodging, yes, alright, I'll try it. But your instincts tell you to dodge somehow. You do it by nature. You do it even if you don't want to. You're telling your fingers to block or to parry, but your brain is telling you to dodge, and so you dodge. That's the problem of it. When I was playing Bloodborne, there were so many times when I lifted my invisible shield. It wasn't there. It was really hard for the game to click for me, and I really had a hard time to be able to adapt to that, because other games have telling me to adapt to a specific playstyle, and that's what the Soulsborne series do. They constantly try to make you change your mindset, and you have to. This might not be true for the Souls games, because in the Souls games you can play whatever the hell you want to play. That's not the case for Sekiro and Bloodborne. Might actually seem to be the way because of how the game mechanics looks like and how the attack animations work, how the presentation looks to you, you might actually look at it at first glance and say, this is just another Souls-like, but it's not. The formula is the Souls-like, but the proposal is different, and the proposal is what you have to find. My friend that was this tanky warrior, when he saw Bloodborne, we were telling him, dude, you have to try it, it's amazing, if you like the Souls games, you're gonna love this. He saw us play, and he said, just not feeling it. The game's just not for me. And that's that. The game doesn't have to adapt to you. You have to adapt to the games. If we're talking about the Souls game, then by all means, do your own playstyle. I saw this video of this guy that was playing the ape from Sekiro, and never, not even once, being so far into the game, not even once he tried to block or parry. He was receiving the beating of his life, trying to dodge, being unable to do it. So in order to beat the boss, he had to run away, run far away as possible, and then when he saw a window, attack. It was possible, but the game's harder for him if he tackles the game in that kind of way. So there you have it. That's it. I really do hope that this video helps you a little bit to understand why are you having so much trouble with a specific game. I do advise you that if you decide to stop playing a specific Soulsborne game because you felt that it was odd to you, that just it wasn't clicking, just the game wasn't clicking for you, do bear in mind this and do try to adapt to the game. It's hard. I'm telling you, it's really hard if you have a specific mindset, if your brain is accustomed and has normalized something. It's really hard to change that. But when you actually manage to do it, I promise you, it's amazing. It's great. I do hope that this video has managed to help some of you guys. That would be all for today. If you like the content, if you like to have these kind of chatters with me, your little merry old friend James, do consider subscribing and sticking around. There will be more content coming your way. Also, click like on the button below. Dislike if you didn't like the video. Let me know in the comments below what kind of player are you and how are you tackling on the Souls-like game. Let me know your opinions. I would very much love to read you. That being said, see you beautiful gamers. Next one. Stay beautiful.